Good afternoon. So today is day 24 of 28 Vegans. Today is probably the most important day of this entire series, not because of my guest, but today is my wife's birthday. And I want to wish her a very happy birthday. I know that she knows how much I care for her and how much I appreciate her. And she went on day one of this series. And the only reason she went on day one was because if it wasn't for her, there would not have been a day 2, a day 3, a day 4, and so on. She's the reason that I have come to this journey. She's the reason I have become so outspoken about this. It's become something that's very important to me. And without her starting that journey, leading us to this, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I wouldn't be having anyone on this series. I would still probably be suffering from a myriad of health issues and still struggling, if not even worse. So I'm very fortunate. So today, if you caught my video yesterday, I had one of my good friends on, Nate, who is a raw vegan. And so I guess it kind of worked out quite well that since today's my wife's birthday, I had Nate on yesterday. Today, I'm going to have on his inspiration and his fiance. Lissa is an incredible woman who sparked his journey to become a raw vegan and to better his health. And so she has her own story, which is quite incredible, and I can't wait to share that. So let me bring Lissa on here just a second. Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing quite well. So I'm sitting here, and normally when I do these feeds, I'm usually, the kids are alone, the kids are, hidden someplace and being quiet and being good. But for some reason, my 60-pound, 45-pound pit mix has been all up in my business. She's been up in my lap, so she just walked away. So she may be on here too. But so
that's all good. I know sometimes my chai, he starts meowing and has to be part of the show. So
yes. So, that's just kind of the way life goes sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that. And she thinks she's a lap dog, and she loves to be all up in your grill anywhere up in here she can get. So it works out well. So first off, thank you very much for being a part of this. I really appreciate you coming on and being able to spread your message of kindness and compassion, and your you have a kind of different story than what I'm used to as far as from a raw standpoint. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, Nate was the first person that I had on that is actually a raw vegan, and I learned so much from him, but he learned most of what he knows from you.
Yes, he did. Most of. I mean, he gathered some information from around, but it was my book that brought him. It's cool because we eat the same because I taught him how to eat, basically. So it's like whatever he makes, I'm gonna like, because it was my recipe anyway.
That clearly very smart man to follow that woman. Just as
Thank you.
So my journey, for those who don't know, started. My wife called me at work, and she said, "I'm done eating meat." She called me at work and told me that, then hung up the phone because she was scared to tell me.
Wow.
She was afraid to tell me because I was a hunter. She knew that I was the typical, American man who thought you got to eat meat to be a man, and that's what made you a man. So she was literally scared to tell me, and that's how our journey started. So we laugh about it now. I wouldn't suggest wives call their husbands at work and hang up on them, but that's how we started. And I was kind enough to be supportive, but I still ate what I wanted to eat on my own. And then shortly after that, we were able to make a trip to a special place and meet someone who was important to me. His name was Dudley. He was a cow who had a prosthetic leg at the Gentle Barn in Knoxville. And when I met Dudley, I was in. I was hooked, and that's what got us there. But it was because she made that phone call that sparked all of that. And
she's awesome. Happy birthday to her from me. Give her a big hug for me.
We'll do. So what was it for you that sparked your journey to become a, raw vegan, even though that's not necessarily what you would have called it at first?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, for me, I discovered raw veganism in about 2004. And I never had a connection with what a vegan, like I knew what vegans were. I just never had that connection or the desire or anything like that to follow in the vegan footsteps. But for some reason, raw veganism resonated so much with me. It made so much sense to just eat food the way nature made it, the way we would eat it in the
Sure.
wild, all of that. It made so much sense to me. So I would try for the next 10 years. So from 2004 till 2014, I would try to be a raw vegan, and not vegan for the animals or for any other reason other than the fact that if you're raw, you're just vegan because you're not going to eat raw meat. I
Right.
did eat a few times in that journey there. I did do like raw dairy, raw eggs, and raw fish. I did do that, but I never felt good doing it. It always, and it was gross. I didn't like eating it either. But I did it because I was a raw foodist. So it was
Right.
more so in that decade, it was more so the raw food that was so intriguing to me. It wasn't necessarily the veganism. And then is my volume too low? People are saying it's too low. Oops. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can, but if someone else, he can hear me.
Yeah. I've got my volume turned up all the way, so I'm not sure why. Let me see if I can. Okay, so in 2014, I had I was eating the crappiest food, like crappy. I was eating a bag of Doritos for breakfast. I was eating like fried chicken with ranch sauce for lunch. I was snacking on candy. It was just horrible. Like I had gained all the way up to almost 200 pounds, and I just felt so bad. I was drinking 1 to 2 energy drinks a day. I was drinking coffees, eating chocolate. Yeah, you name it, I ate it. I would eat the token vegetable because I felt guilty. So it would be like a cup, maybe half a cup of broccoli with my evening pasta-y kind of thing or whatever. But so one night, well, every night, almost every night, I would wake up with my heart palpitating, like really fluttering really fast from the caffeine, obviously, and all the junk I was eating. But I would feel like I was having a heart attack. My joints were incredibly painful. I had an insane amount of acne all over the place, and I had anxiety, so I would pick at it, and it would just, like, it was horrible. I just hated my life. And I was only eating to enjoy my life. Like some people say, don't you enjoy your life as a raw vegan? Like, don't you need, like, I would need food to enjoy my life. And I realized that if I need food to enjoy my life, I didn't actually enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Right. So I was using the food to kind of make my life seem a little bit better. But I woke up that night and I had this like intense, like panic, heart flutter, whatever. And it feels like I am dying of a heart attack. And then I would think about dying of a heart attack, and I wouldn't be able to get back to sleep. So sleep for me was horrible, horrible. And I woke up that morning and I was like, that's it. I'm going to be raw vegan again. And at the time, my ex, he had heard me say I'm going to be a raw vegan like at least 100 times during the time we were together. And, you know, he's just like, okay, whatever. She'll be off of it in the 3 days. Like I never could sustain it because of social situations or cravings, or I wasn't eating enough. I was eating too high fat, like just not enough fresh produce. And I just
Right.
wasn't doing it properly. So in 2014, I started following Fully Raw Christina, who was my original inspiration way back in the day. And I binge watched her videos, and I had never ever tried the low fat version. So like getting rid of the oils, any excess fats or any of that. I never tried that because I worked in the natural health industry for like over a decade at the time. And I was indoctrinated to believe that I needed all these healthy fats.
Yeah.
So I was obsessed with like, I need all these oils and flax oil and coconut oil and fish oil and all of this. So I was scared to try the low fat version over those 10 years. so this time I was like, well, if she's been doing it for over a decade, then I can give it a month or two, right? So I bought Dr. Doug Graham's book, The 80-10-10 Diet, which is 80% carbs, 10% protein, 10% fats. And 10% fats is very little fat. Like you're not eating a lot. You can't do oils. And if you do an avocado, you just use half on your evening salad. You're still getting fats because if you eat a large amount of calories, 10% is, it's based on the amount of calories you're eating. So if you're eating 1,200 calories, 10% is only 120 calories, whereas 2,400 calories, you're getting 240. So you can eat more fats when you eat more food. And I was always under the calorie restrictive mindset of, not eating to lose weight and high fat. So I was always doing that wrong. So this time when I went around, I was binge watching Fully Raw Christina, and I was going through some of the comments, and somebody mentioned to watch Cowspiracy, Earthlings, and Forks Over Knives. So that day I watched all three back to back, and I was like, all right, guess I'm a vegan. So I never had that connection with vegan and just like a regular standard vegan diet or even whole food plant-based or any of that. I always associated vegan with raw. So I never tried a regular vegan diet ever. I was always like, if I'm vegan, I'm raw. So I thought, since I'm vegan now, I might as well just be raw. So I went raw. I went low fat raw. I ate high calorie, and I've been doing it ever since. It's been 4.5 years.
That is awesome. It's amazing how people, your journeys take different roads. And I try to really impress upon people that I want to educate and encourage people to try new things. Reason being, because first off, I wasn't raised vegan. I wasn't, I was raised furthest from it. I grew up in a family where we would hunt and fish, and, there was either meat or dairy of some nature on the table at every single meal. And so I try not to judge people who take time to make that transition. Would I love for people to be able to just, absolutely overnight, wake up tomorrow morning and bam, they're in? Yes, absolutely, I would. I would love that for the animals. I'd love that for themselves, because I think taking care of your body has to be a priority. And the reason being, if you don't take care of your body, you're not fueling it properly, you're not going to be able to do anything else. Outside of that, it doesn't matter. To me, fueling your body has to be the biggest form of self-care that you can do to launch everything else. It doesn't matter what your day has planned. It doesn't matter what you want to do. If you don't do those things, you're not going to get anything done. So I think that's very important.
And there's something that I always like to say is, when you fly on an airplane and the oxygen mask that comes down, they always say, put your own mask on first before you help other people. So we have to take care of our bodies before we can even help the animals. Like if we're not healthy, and you and I were talking about this earlier about the junk food. It's like, if we're eating all of this junk food, even vegan junk food, we're not really, we are doing a great service to the animals because we're not eating them. But a lot of people are falling off the vegan lifestyle because they feel crappy because all they eat is French fries and burgers. So it's kind of a double-edged sword with the junk food, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest misconception. Now, 20 years ago, if you said I'm a vegan, you pretty much ate whole food, plant-based or raw, and you were much healthier just by default by living that lifestyle. But today, and it's not a bad thing, because I think some people do need, and I'm the first to admit, Beyond sausages, Impossible burgers, those things taste wonderful, and Nate described them yesterday as transitional meat.
Yeah.
I love his right here.
It's here.
That's important because you got to be able to break that mindset somehow. And if that's the tool that you have to use it, or to break that mindset, I'm absolutely 100% supportive and all for it. But then at the end of the day, like you said, if that's all that you're eating, if that's what you're consuming and fueling your body with, you are going to feel like crap. You are going to gain weight. You're still going to have some of these issues. So until you either get to at least a whole food plant-based diet, or to a full raw vegan diet, that's where you're really going to see the gains in your body. Now, so I struggled with several medical issues, and those have gone away completely since going to a vegan diet. And it's been incredible. One of my favorite things is that, I used to always ache and hurt, and like my knees hurt. My right knee, I wrestled all through high school and college. My right knee had been scoped like I think 4 times. And it's just, one of those things I thought, you know what? I'm getting old. I'm 40 years old now. That's just the way it is. Since we've gone vegan, it's like weird. My knees don't hurt. My back doesn't bother me nearly as much. I don't have those aches and pains because that inflammation that you're consuming from all the foods we shouldn't be consuming is gone.
Exactly. Totally. I know. And when I went raw, countless health things went away. Like my pain went away. Mm-hmm. Severe joint pain, my acne. I lost 70 pounds doing this. It took 14 months, but I didn't do it for weight loss. That's the whole point. I did do it. Once I watched those movies, I was vegan for the animals, 100%, no problem. But I did raw for my health, and I wanted to eat the most natural possible foods that I could. And my acne went away. I lost all this weight. My joints felt better. My hormones balanced. My circulation is better. God, it's so amazing. So I wanted to start sharing it with people. And that's how I started on my social media. I was part of a lot of groups on Facebook, and people were asking me questions. I was sharing my before and after pictures, just trying to help people.
Right.
And people were asking me all kinds of questions, and I was spending all day writing these massive things to people. And I'm like, I want to help people, but I don't have the time necessarily. So I started making YouTube videos, and I was like, okay, well, if someone asks about this, then I can send them to this video. And that's just how it happened. And people were like, what do you eat? Oh my gosh, I want to know what you eat. So, and I started using my creativity, and I came up with hundreds of recipes. So that's when I wrote the book. And I always say that going raw changed my entire life, because the day I went raw was the day of my new life. I got out of a relationship that wasn't working anymore. I wrote this book. I changed my health, all this kind of stuff, and eventually brought me to be with Nate. So had I not gone raw, had I not written that book, I never would have met him. And so not only is raw so special to me health-wise and for the animals, it's brought me my twin flame. I was just so grateful that I made that choice. And people don't realize that making that choice, sure, you're giving up all kinds of stuff, but you're gaining so much more. And in the future, you don't even know what you could be bringing or attracting into your life because you've made these positive changes in your life. It's amazing.
That is, I hear stories like that. I hear Nate talking about how he says you saved his life, and I know how that feels. I feel the same way from my wife. I was out running around in bars doing lots of stupid stuff that I shouldn't be doing. And when I met her, it's funny, I completely dropped all that. I changed my life in that portion. Then, our first date, we laugh about this as well, because our first date was at a place called Young's Jersey Dairy. There's a little irony there because, both of us, if you would have said on our first date, in 4 or 5 years, we're going to go vegan. We're going to become, these animal-loving activists that want to, save every animal we can. Saving the animals, we would have been okay with that, but the vegan part would have been a part of that conversation. So you are absolutely right. When you make these changes in your life, you have no idea what other things are going to be, brought on. So one of the things I'd like to say to you is that you brought up a point where you'd lost 70 pounds, right? So a lot of people get obsessed with the scale and that number. They're worried about the end result. So a good friend of mine, Adam Sudd, he was on day 9, 10, I think, of my series, and he brought up a point. He says, you have to love everything today. You have to love what you're doing. You have to love the food you're filling your body with today. He says, don't worry about the results. The results will happen. just by purely loving what you're doing, the acts, the conscious acts of what you're fueling your body with. And I thought that was really profound. And since you brought that up, I thought I'd kind of throw that idea back out, because it is that important. It's not about, oh, I'm gonna do this because I want to lose 5 pounds. I'm doing this because I need to lose 10 pounds. Mm-hmm. If that's your mindset, you're going to fail, because you'll do that. You'll lose those 5, 10, 20 pounds, and you're like, oh, great, I lost that weight. And then you go back to what you used to be doing. So it's important to just really enjoy and love what you're doing for the process, and then the results will follow, both health benefits, weight.
Yeah, totally. Because when I went raw, I never went raw for weight loss. I had weight to lose, but I was like, if I lose, because I already tried the keto thing. I did the keto thing for about 8 months, about a year before I went raw.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I have to work this hard at the gym and I have to eat this boring food, because I enjoyed it at the beginning, but then towards the end of the challenge, I was like, this is so boring. And there wasn't a lot of food, and I was calorie restricting, and I was at the gym 2 hours a day with rest days. And I had no energy. Sure, I felt better because I had given up all the junk, but I didn't feel top notch. I was just like, if I have to put all this effort into losing weight, who cares? And that's when I started binging on all the stuff, right? So when I went raw for life. I was like, this is my new lifestyle. I'm going to do this forever. And if I lose the weight, I know I will, because like I'm eating properly. So
right.
I knew it was going to come, but I never did it for weight loss. I did it for my own health. And I did it because I believed it was a sustainable lifestyle. Like keto, like you can only be in keto for X amount of time, and you're starving yourself of carbs. You're starving yourself of a lot of nutrition, because a lot of keto is low calorie, right? And you're eating a lot of fat and protein, which is hard on your kidneys, hard on your insulin. Like they say that when you're on keto, it gets rid of your diabetes, because they'll do a sugar test, and because they're not eating any carbs, of course their sugar levels are going to look good, right?
Yes.
But if they actually go for a glucose tolerance test, they'll fail, because they have so much hyperlipidemia, which is the excess fat in your bloodstream. It's going to prevent insulin from getting the sugar into your cells. So your insulin basically doesn't work. The higher fat you eat, the less insulin works. So that is why I don't believe that keto is a long-term thing, and it doesn't get rid of health problems. It just masks it. So I thought, I'm so happy. I'm just going to be raw forever, whether I lose weight or not. That's just exactly. And I lost the 70 pounds, no problem. As long as you stay low fat.
Yeah.
It's
so
the fat, really. Yeah.
If you see Plant-Based Addict just responded to what you were just saying, that keto creates insulin resistance. He works for Diabetes Masters. He does some incredible things helping people literally reverse and cure their diabetes off of a whole food plant-based diet. And so it's wonderful when you see these things and hear these things from people who not only are out here saying it, but have done it. You've lived it, you've experienced it for yourself, and you've given yourself up kind of to the social media world as a reference of, not, oh, look at me, look at me. It is more of a, this is what I've done by changing my diet. Mm-hmm. You can do this as well. And then you've got your cookbooks, you've got your YouTube, you've got your other social media platforms. And
yeah, is the Mastering Diabetes, you're with Robbie, right? I love Robbie. I think that's the one, Mastering Diabetes.
Yes.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Did I say the other way around?
Robbie is Mindful Diabetic. I think they're partners. You guys partners? I just want to make sure. Yes. Yay! Yeah, Robbie is awesome. I met him at the UK Fruit Festival. He's pretty cool. He's got type 1, so he's managing it with basically raw diet, so high fruit, and it works because the fat is the problem, and people don't understand that. They think we need so much fat, and we only need a small amount just to, I like to say it's like a vehicle. Okay, so you've got 3 things that go into your vehicle. You've got plastic, steel, and gas, right? Or I would say that we'll just use it as an analogy. Your plastic, we could say, is your fats. Your steel is your protein, and your gas is the sugar. So if you want to go and if you want to drive, you got to put gas in your car. You can't put liquid plastic or steel in your car. It's not going to go. But if you're in a car accident, you need steel and plastic to rebuild the car, right? But you don't need a lot of that. It doesn't happen, you know. It's kind of a rough analogy, but that's kind of how I like to say it. We don't need all of this protein and fat for energy at all. We don't. We need carbs for that energy. And the fat and protein are more building blocks. And we're not babies anymore. We're not growing like 3 to 4 times in a year or two, right? We don't need that much protein and fats. We just don't. So
that's fantastic. I love the analogies that you bring up because, you know, Nate hit me with one yesterday. He said, you know, guys, when you're talking, like, one of the things I want to do is reach out to other men to come to this movement. I want to connect with them, so I need to talk to more farmers, hunters, and ranchers because I've been there. I've done those things. But he said it's amazing. These guys have these $80,000 trucks, and they baby them. They make sure they get their oil changed. They make sure they have the best fuel. They have the best, you know, add-ons and accessories. They're cleaned out. They're detailed. He says, but if you treated your body the same way.
Yeah. I loved that analogy. I was like, oh my God, you have to make a YouTube video on that.
Yes, it was perfect because that analogy is if you treated your body that way, if you fueled it with the best things you should be fueling with, you're going to have the best, you know, excuse my language, the badass body, just like your badass truck, right?
Yeah.
So, but instead, we baby our trucks and we, you know, treat our bodies like it's a trash can. Mm-hmm. And I was guilty of it. When I met my wife, I was probably 310, 320 pounds. And it was bad. And my wife is, she's very fit and trim and, you know, definitely the polar opposite of where I was. And so she took a big risk on me because of the drinking, because of my diet, because of where I was in my life. But thankfully I had enough draw and enough attractive something that she was interested. So I'm very fortunate for that.
Yeah,
but
she sounds amazing.
She is. She and I are polar opposites on this page of, like, I can get up and I can talk to anyone. I can start a conversation. We'll be in the grocery store and I'll hear someone say something about, oh, is that vegan? Or I hear, and I have no problem
You're like
saying,
right there.
Yes, I'm all over it. Like, I got ears like listening for it. And next thing I know, she's 3 aisles over because that's just not how she feels comfortable doing. And I have no problem doing that. So we're a little opposite on that end. But, you know, if she had not started this journey for us, I wouldn't be here today.
That's awesome.
Well, Lissa, I tell you what, I could talk about this forever. This is something that's become very passionate to me, and I loved learning so much stuff from a raw standpoint from yourself and from Nate yesterday. We definitely should do this again. And, you know, to me, I wanted to bring people on to thank them for their passion, thank them for, you know, what they're bringing to the movement. Thank you for the inspiration that you're providing, not just to myself, but to others. And I just wanted to give you a few minutes to be able to say, you know, here I am. Here's what I'm all about, and kind of express your point of view on this. And I think there are so many people out there that connect to that journey that you've been on. We've all been on that diet roller coaster for most of us. And it's time, if you want to get off going to a honest to goodness raw vegan diet or a whole food plant-based diet. One in particular, if you want to look at one for those who may not be ready to go raw, look at the Engine 2 diet. You know, they're on the same page as far as, you know, no oils, very, 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 very little salt. And so there's a lot that I think you can be learned from those. So, you know, thank you very much for the time today. I really appreciate your passion for this. And thanks for sharing Nate with me.
Oh, no worries. I'm glad that you had him on there. He's got such a great voice. He's so charismatic, and he has to be a speaker. He's got so much that he can share with the world. So I'm just insanely blessed that I get to stand by his side and we can go through this journey together, all because of this one book.
Where can people find that book?
You can find all of my books. I've got them all right here. These are my other 3. This is my winter book. I've got my plant-based dips and dressings, and this is the new one, the newest meal plan. You can find all of those links in my bio on Instagram. There's like a whole list of links. So if anyone's interested, they can head over there. Check them out. There's
Wonderful.
ebook versions and print versions, so there's something for everybody.
That's awesome. Thanks for letting people know that that's where they can find that stuff. So for those who either came in late on the live feed, I will post all of this on my YouTube channel, which the link is also in my bio, and I will tag everybody in this so that way they can rewatch this if you choose. One of the things I ask people to do, if something that I've said or something someone I've talked to says something that resonates with you, share that. Because you never know how my journey or Lissa's journey may contact and resonate with someone else, and that may encourage someone else to make changes in their lifestyle that could save their life. It could drastically improve their life, and without a question, it's better for the environment, it's better for animals. And to me, with those three, they're so important and absolutely a must to do in our lives.
I agree. I know. Share. If stuff resonates, tag your friends, share it around. And it's not about getting more likes and all this kind of stuff. It's about getting the message out there. We need to reach more people. And if each of us can affect 3 people, right, and those 3 people affect 3 people, it's just a huge ripple effect. And we need that.
Absolutely. That, I think that is so important because, a lot of times it may not be someone who is a big celebrity that you may connect with. It may be your neighbor. It may be your coworker. It may be someone else that sees this, says, wow, I didn't realize that. And, they take that to heart because it's someone they know. I think it's sharing your journey and sharing your passion is so powerful. And I think it's so important. So, Lissa, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We will have to stay in touch. And I can't wait to hear more about, your cookbook, what Nate's working on with his nice cream cookbook. I loved it. Sorry, I can keep going on and on, but he talked about he was going to have his raw natty nice cream, and then naughty. It's like, dude, well done. So, a little bit for everybody there. But thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Appreciate the time carved out to come on and share your story.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me on.
Anytime. Have a good day.
Yes, you too. See you guys.